Tom was a human engineer working far from Earth. For years, he had been living under the Galactic Empire, doing small jobs that most aliens thought were too boring or too simple. He fixed machines, delivered parts, and worked on repairs for mining stations. The pay was not high, but it was enough to keep him moving from one job to the next. Most days were the same. He would wake up, check his assignment list, load his tools onto his small transport ship, and travel to whichever station needed him. This time, though, the assignment was not like the others. When Tom opened his console that morning, he saw a request marked with an unusual red seal. It was a direct order from the Empire's Central Command. That almost never happened to someone like him. He was used to smaller requests coming from station officers or mining supervisors. But a direct message from the Empire? That was rare. The message was short and simple. It said, "Deliver the heavy mining tools to Outpost 9. Do not ask questions. Follow instructions from the guards. Payment will be doubled." Tom frowned at the words. He had never seen such a strange notice before. Usually, the Empire did not care about small workers like him. Why would they send him directly instead of using their own supply ships? And why the warning about asking questions? Something about it felt off, but Tom was not the type to argue with the Empire. If they wanted tools delivered, he would deliver them. Still, in the back of his mind, he kept thinking that there had to be more to this job. He spent the morning loading crates into his transport ship. The crates were large, sealed, and heavy. Each one was stamped with the Empire's symbol. Tom checked the inventory list. It said mining drills, plasma cutters, binding rigs, and energy cells. The items matched the weight of the crates, so nothing looked out of place. But he noticed that the crates were locked in a way he had never seen before. He had transported equipment many times, but these locks were reinforced and coated. Whoever packed them clearly did not want anyone opening them. By midday, Tom was in the cockpit of his ship, setting the course to Outpost 9. The ship lifted off, and the stars stretched before him. The journey would take a few hours, long enough for him to think. He leaned back and stared at the star map glowing on the console. Outpost 9 was far from the trade routes, located on a rocky moon near a gas giant. The place was not well known, and Tom had never visited it before. Mining stations were common in the Empire, but something about the coordinates made him uneasy. Why would they need so many heavy tools there? And why did they want him, a human, to deliver them instead of a military ship? Tom tapped his fingers on the control panel, trying to shake the feeling. He told himself it was just another job. The Empire worked in mysterious ways. A worker like him could not hope to understand their plans. All he could do was keep his head down and complete his task. Still, he could not help but wonder if this assignment would change something in his life. Hours later, his ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the moon. The gas giant filled half the sky, glowing with stormy colors. Outpost 9 was a small cluster of metal buildings clinging to the rocky surface. A docking beacon flashed, guiding him toward the landing platform. As he descended, Tom saw guard towers and patrol drones circling the area. That was unusual. Mining stations rarely had such heavy security. The landing clamps locked onto his ship, and the docking doors slid open. Tom powered down the engines and stood up. He brushed the dust from his uniform and grabbed his data pad. He wanted to look professional, even if he was nervous. The ramp lowered, and cold air rushed inside. Waiting for him at the bottom were 3 guards in dark armor. They carried long energy rifles, and their helmets hid their faces. One of them stepped forward. "You are Tom, human engineer?" the guard asked in a flat voice. "Yes," Tom said carefully. "I brought the tools, as requested." "Good. You will unload them here. Do not wander. Do not ask questions. Do not enter restricted areas. If you follow these rules, you will be paid." Tom nodded. He was not surprised by the warning, but hearing it in person made it feel more serious. The guard handed him a payment chip and motioned to the crates. He started unloading the cargo with the help of two small loading bots. As each crate hit the platform, the guards scanned it quickly and marked it with their own devices. The work was heavy, but Tom was used to it. Still, he could not stop his eyes from drifting toward the rest of the outpost. Beyond the docking area, he saw tall walls with energy fences. Inside, several towers rose, connected by long walkways. Shadows of workers moved between the buildings, but they walked in silence, heads down. The entire place felt more like a prison than a mining station. Tom's curiosity grew stronger. He kept asking himself why the Empire would guard this place so tightly. Was it because of rare minerals? Or something else? The more he thought about it, the more uneasy he became. When the last crate was moved, Tom stretched his back and wiped the sweat from his brow. The guard approached again. "You are finished," the guard said. "You may rest inside the visitor quarters for one night. You will leave tomorrow." Tom forced a smile. "Thank you." The guard leaned closer. "Remember, do not wander. Some places are not for you." The way the guard said it made Tom feel more like a prisoner than a guest. He nodded quickly and walked toward the small quarters assigned to him. Inside, the room was plain and cold. A single bed, a desk, and a metal door. No window, no decoration. Tom sat on the edge of the bed and rubbed his chin. Something was wrong with this place. He had traveled across many outposts, but none of them had felt this strange. The guards were too strict. The workers too silent. The crates too secret. Tom lay down and closed his eyes, but sleep would not come. He kept replaying the guard's words in his mind. Do not wander. Do not ask questions. But Tom was human. And humans had always been curious. Late that night, when the halls outside grew quiet, Tom stood up. He opened the metal door slowly, making sure the corridor was empty. His heart pounded, but his legs carried him forward. He told himself he only wanted a quick look. Nothing more. He walked past silent rooms and darkened halls. The air smelled faintly of metal and something burnt. He followed the faint sound of machinery, deeper and deeper into the outpost. Then he saw it. A large door, guarded by two armored sentries. But the door was cracked slightly open, and a faint glow spilled out. The guards looked bored, talking quietly to each other. Tom crouched behind a stack of crates, his curiosity burning stronger than his fear. What was inside that room? He leaned closer, trying to peek through the crack. And what he saw made his breath catch in his throat. Inside the chamber, chains glimmered under the glow of energy fields. And in the center of those chains, a massive shape moved slowly, like a mountain alive. Scales shimmered faintly, wings curled against its body. The creature lifted its head, and for 1 second, its eyes opened, glowing like fire in the dark. Tom froze. It was not a machine. It was not mining equipment. It was alive. He was staring at a dragon. Tom stood frozen in the shadow of the crates. His breath was shallow, his body tense. He could not believe what his eyes were showing him. It was not a trick. It was not a machine or some large mining beast. It was a dragon. A real one. The chains that wrapped around the dragon were thick, glowing with faint blue energy. They dug into the creature's scales, keeping its wings pinned tight to its body. Its long tail curled weakly against the floor, twitching every now and then. Even in the dim light, Tom could see the power in its body. This was not some weak animal. This was something grand, majestic, and dangerous. Yet it looked tired. Its wings were frayed at the edges. Its scales, though still shining, had lost some of their luster. Its head rested low, and its breathing came in slow, heavy waves. Tom felt a deep ache in his chest as he watched it. The creature was strong, but it was also suffering. Tom's mind raced. What was a dragon doing here, chained up like a prisoner? He had heard stories about strange creatures living on distant worlds, but never once had he thought he would see one with his own eyes. The Empire had kept the secret from everyone. Mining tools? That was the excuse. The truth was this outpost was not a mine at all. It was a prison. A prison built to hold something powerful. He leaned closer, trying to see more. The guards at the door kept talking, their voices muffled through the helmets. They had no idea Tom was there. He wanted to move away, to return to his quarters and pretend none of this was real. But something inside him would not let him leave. His curiosity pulled him forward. The dragon's eyes opened wider, glowing golden in the dark. And then it looked directly at him. Tom's breath caught in his throat. His body went still as stone. The dragon did not roar. It did not thrash. Instead, its gaze locked onto him, steady and silent. In that moment, Tom felt as though the creature was looking straight into his soul. He wanted to look away, but he could not. Then something strange happened. A faint image flickered in his mind. It was not his own thought. It was something being sent to him. He saw the image of a vast sky, blue and endless. He saw the dragon soaring freely, its wings spread wide as it glided above mountains and oceans. The picture was so clear, so vivid, that Tom almost gasped. Then the image shifted. The same dragon appeared again, but this time chained, its wings clipped, its body dragged into darkness. The pain and sorrow in that vision nearly crushed him. Tom stumbled back, his heart pounding. Was the dragon speaking to him? Could it send thoughts directly into his mind? He pressed his hand against the wall, trying to steady himself. He had never experienced anything like this before. The dragon's eyes blinked once, slowly, almost like a silent plea. Then its head lowered again, chains clinking softly against the floor. Tom backed away carefully. He knew he could not stay longer. The guards might notice him, and if they caught him peeking into this chamber, his life would be in danger. He turned and moved quickly down the hall, his boots making almost no sound on the metal floor. When he reached his quarters, he closed the door and leaned against it, his chest heaving. His thoughts spun like a storm. A dragon. A real dragon. The Empire had captured it. They were holding it here, hiding it from the galaxy. Why? Was it for study? For power? For a weapon? Tom did not know, but every answer he thought of made his stomach twist. The Empire was not known for kindness. Whatever plans they had, they would not be good for the creature. Tom sat on the bed and buried his face in his hands. He had seen many things in his travels, but nothing like this. He wanted to tell someone, anyone, but who would believe him? He was just a human engineer, a small worker in a vast empire. No one cared about his words. But the dragon cared. He had felt it. That vision was not just a trick of his mind. It was real communication. The creature was reaching out to him, asking for help. The night stretched on, and Tom did not sleep. His mind was filled with the golden eyes and the visions of skies. By morning, he had made a choice, even if it was a reckless one. He had to see the dragon again. When the guards escorted him back to his ship the next day, Tom pretended to follow their orders. He thanked them for their payment and acted as though he was ready to leave. But as soon as they turned their backs, he created an excuse. He told them one of the crates might have been damaged during landing and that he needed to check it before departure. The guards grumbled but allowed him to return to the storage area. Instead of checking the crates, Tom slipped away again. This time he knew the path. He moved quickly, staying out of sight, until he reached the guarded door once more. But now there was only one guard. The other had gone down the corridor. Tom's heart raced. He needed to find a way in. The door was thick and sealed with a heavy lock. But he was an engineer. He knew how to bypass systems. From his tool belt, he pulled a small device. It was a scanner he usually used to reset broken consoles. He pressed it against the panel, and the screen flickered. The lock was complex, but Tom had worked with similar ones before. With a few quick taps, the system blinked green. The door cracked open. He slipped inside, holding his breath. The chamber was larger than he remembered. The dragon still lay in the center, its chains glowing faintly. Its head lifted when Tom entered, and once again, those golden eyes met his. Tom stepped forward slowly. "I don't know if you can understand me," he whispered, his voice trembling. "But I saw what you showed me. I know you don't belong here." The dragon blinked. Another wave of images filled Tom's mind. This time, he saw flashes of stars, planets, and battles. He saw fleets of Empire ships chasing the dragon, beams of light striking the skies. He saw the creature fighting, roaring, refusing to bow down. Then he saw it captured, dragged by chains, trapped in darkness. Tom's knees grew weak. The dragon was showing him its story. It had been free once, soaring across worlds, protecting something, maybe its people, maybe its land. The Empire had hunted it, defeated it, and brought it here to be locked away. Tom clenched his fists. "This isn't right," he whispered. "You shouldn't be here." The dragon's eyes softened, almost like it understood. For a moment, Tom felt a strange bond forming, as though they were no longer strangers. He was human, it was dragon, yet somehow their thoughts touched. Then the sound of footsteps echoed outside the door. Tom froze. He turned toward the entrance. The lone guard was returning. He had only seconds. The dragon's tail shifted, and one of its chains clinked loudly. The noise covered Tom's movements as he darted behind a support pillar. The guard opened the door, glanced inside, and frowned at the dragon. Seeing nothing unusual, he muttered something and stepped back out. The door closed again. Tom let out the breath he had been holding. He looked at the dragon once more. Its golden eyes glowed faintly, watching him with calm patience. "I don't know what I can do," Tom whispered. "But I'll try. I'll find a way to help you." The dragon blinked again, and Tom felt one last image before he left, a vision of broken chains falling to the ground. He slipped out, sealing the door behind him. His heart raced, but a new fire burned in his chest. He was no longer just an engineer on a simple job. He was now part of a secret far greater than himself. And he knew that whatever happened next, his life would never be the same. Tom woke early the next day, but it was not because of the alarms or the sound of machines in the outpost. He woke because his mind refused to let him sleep. All through the night, he kept seeing the dragon's eyes, glowing gold in the darkness. He kept seeing the visions it had shown him, the skies, the freedom, and the chains. When he sat up on his narrow bed, he felt as if he carried a heavy weight inside him. He was not just Tom the engineer anymore. He had seen something that no other human had seen. He had felt something no machine could explain. The dragon had spoken to him, not with words, but with its mind, with its spirit. He rubbed his face and looked around the room. The walls were plain and gray. The metal door stood locked from the outside. The Empire thought of him as nothing more than a worker, a man who followed orders. They had no idea that inside this room sat someone who now carried their secret. Tom's stomach growled, and he realized he had not eaten since yesterday. The outpost supplied him with a simple tray of food, bread, dried fruit, and water. He ate slowly, but his thoughts were not on the food. His thoughts were on the dragon. Why had it reached out to him? Why him, a human engineer, one of the least important workers in the Empire? Perhaps because he had looked at it, not as a weapon, not as a beast, but as something alive. Perhaps because humans were known for their curiosity, for their ability to connect with others. Tom did not know the reason, but he could not ignore it. After he finished eating, he checked his ship. The guards let him near it but kept watch as if he might steal something that was already his. They had no trust in him, but Tom had no plan to leave yet. He told them the engines needed more checks before he could depart. The guards nodded and allowed him time. That was his excuse, his shield, the thing that gave him more hours to think. And he knew what he wanted to do with those hours. He wanted to see the dragon again. So once more, Tom waited until the halls grew quiet. Once more, he slipped past the guards and down the corridors. He moved with more care now, learning where the cameras turned, when the patrols walked by. Each step made his heart pound, but he did not stop. His curiosity was stronger than his fear. When he reached the chamber, the dragon was waiting. Its golden eyes opened as if it had sensed him before he even entered. Tom closed the door behind him and stood in the glow of the chains. He whispered softly, "I came back." The dragon blinked slowly. Then, like before, Tom felt the wave of images. This time, the pictures were softer. He saw the dragon flying through clouds, its wings stretched wide. He felt the wind rushing, the warmth of the sun. It was not a memory of pain but a memory of peace. The dragon was sharing something personal, something gentle. Tom stepped closer, his boots echoing on the metal floor. "I wish I could see that for real," he whispered. "The sky. You flying free." The dragon's tail twitched slightly, and for the first time, Tom felt something that almost felt like a quiet laugh, not through sound but through thought. He sat down on the floor, crossing his legs. "I don't even know your name," he said softly. "Do you have one? Or maybe you don't need names." The dragon lowered its head, chains rattling softly. Another image filled Tom's mind, this time of a star-shaped symbol glowing bright. He did not understand the meaning, but he guessed it was the dragon's mark, something that stood for its identity. "I'll call you Starfire," Tom whispered. "Until I learn the truth." The dragon blinked again, its golden eyes shining. For hours, Tom stayed in that chamber. He did not speak much, but he did not need to. The dragon spoke through visions and feelings. Sometimes Tom saw memories of flying, hunting, protecting. Other times he saw images of sorrow, chains, fire, and the weight of loss. Each time, Tom felt closer to the creature. It was not just an animal. It was something far greater, a being of intelligence and spirit. And slowly, something formed between them. A bond. When Tom finally left the chamber, his heart was heavy but also full of something new. He could not walk away from this. He could not pretend it was just another job. The Empire was wrong for keeping the dragon here, wrong for chaining it like a weapon. Back in his quarters, he sat on the bed and thought about what he could do. He was just one man, with a small ship and simple tools. How could he fight against the Empire? But another thought rose in him. He did not need to fight the whole Empire. He only needed to help the dragon. The next day, Tom acted normal in front of the guards. He checked his ship, worked on his datapad, and spoke little. But inside his mind, he was making a plan. He returned to the dragon again that night. This time, he brought a small toolkit hidden under his jacket. The dragon tilted its head as Tom set the tools on the ground. "I can't break your chains yet," Tom whispered. "They're too strong, and the guards would notice. But I can make them hurt you less." The dragon's eyes glowed brighter, and Tom felt a wave of gratitude. He knelt by one of the glowing cuffs, studying the way it bit into the dragon's scales. Carefully, he adjusted the energy field, easing the pressure so it no longer burned as much. The work was delicate, and sweat rolled down his forehead as he worked in silence. When he finished, the dragon's body shifted, its breath easier, its tail relaxing slightly. Tom smiled. "There. It's not freedom, but it's something." The dragon lowered its head close to him, and for the first time, Tom reached out. His hand brushed against the warm scale of its jaw. He expected it to pull away, but it stayed still, watching him with calm golden eyes. At that moment, Tom felt something powerful. He was no longer just a human engineer fixing machines. He was a friend to something the Empire wanted to crush. The bond between them grew stronger with each visit. Tom spoke to it about Earth, about the stars he had traveled through, about his life as a worker who was never noticed. The dragon showed him images of its world, mountains of crystal, skies filled with light, and other dragons soaring free. Together, they built a bridge of trust. But Tom knew time was running short. The guards spoke louder each day about the Empire's next move. He overheard two of them in the docking bay whispering about a transport fleet arriving soon. They said the dragon would be moved to the capital, where the Emperor himself would see it. Tom's blood ran cold. If the dragon was taken to the capital, it would never escape. It would be used, broken, displayed as a symbol of the Empire's power. That night, when he sat with the dragon again, he whispered, "They want to take you away. I can't let that happen. I'll find a way to stop them. I promise." The dragon's eyes glowed like fire, and Tom felt another vision. Chains breaking. Wings rising. A roar shaking the skies. The dragon believed in him. Tom stood slowly, his hand resting on the warm scales one last time. "We'll break these chains," he whispered. "Together." As he left the chamber, a new fire burned in his heart. He was only one man, but humans had always found a way to do the impossible. And Tom was ready to try. The sun rose over Outpost 9, painting the rocky horizon with soft gold and red light. Tom watched it from the small window of his quarters, though his thoughts were far from the beauty outside. He did not care about the sunrise or the quiet morning hum of the outpost. All he could think about was Starfire, the chained dragon he had visited night after night. The warnings of the guards echoed in his mind. Do not wander. Do not enter restricted areas. But Tom had learned that the Empire's rules were not meant to protect him. They were meant to control him. And now, he realized the chains that held Starfire were not just metal and energy. They were control, power, and fear. He had spent the morning checking his tools and reviewing the ship's systems, acting as if everything was normal. The guards patrolled the docking bay, their helmets reflecting the sun. Their chatter was dull and cold. They were unaware of Tom's true intentions. He had to move carefully, for a single mistake could cost him his life or the dragon's. Tom's mind raced. He had thought about every possibility. Could he release the dragon here? No. The chains were too strong for him to break alone, and even if he could, the alarms would alert the guards immediately. Could he wait for help? No. The transport fleet the Empire had planned would arrive within days, and they would take Starfire to the capital, far from anyone who could help. He had to act now. Yet he was only one man. A small human engineer against the might of the Empire. The thought weighed on him, but his determination grew. Humans were not known for giving up. If there was even a small chance, he would take it. That night, he slipped out of his quarters as silently as possible. The corridors were dim, the lights low. Tom's heart pounded in his chest with each step. Every sound echoed in his ears: the hum of machinery, the faint drip of water, the distant murmur of guards. But he moved forward. Each step brought him closer to Starfire, closer to the chance of changing everything. When he reached the chamber, the dragon lifted its massive head. Its golden eyes glowed, calm and patient. Tom approached slowly, kneeling on the cold metal floor. "I have a plan," he whispered. "But I need to know if you are ready. If we do this, there is no turning back." The dragon's eyes narrowed slightly, and Tom felt another wave of images in his mind. It showed him the chains breaking, the wings rising, the freedom of the sky. But then it showed danger lights, fire, guards, and soldiers. Tom understood the message clearly. Starfire was ready to trust him, but the risk was immense. Tom swallowed hard. "We can do this," he said, more to himself than to the dragon. "I just need you to follow me. I will not let them hurt you. I promise." The dragon blinked, a slow, deliberate motion that felt like agreement. Its tail shifted gently, chains rattling as it prepared to move. Tom worked quickly, adjusting the chains as he had done before, loosening what he could without triggering alarms. He had brought tools to weaken the locks, but he knew he had only a short window before the guards would notice. As he worked, the dragon stayed calm, its eyes fixed on him. Tom felt a strange warmth, a sense of connection he could not explain. It was not fear. It was trust. For the first time in his life, Tom realized he was not alone in this fight. When he finished, he stepped back and looked at Starfire. "We go now," he whispered. The dragon shifted its massive body, wings folding but ready. Tom motioned toward the exit, keeping low. The corridor outside was quiet. Tom and the dragon moved carefully, avoiding patrols and surveillance cameras. Every step was tense. If a single guard noticed them, it would end in disaster. They reached a junction, and Tom paused. Ahead, the corridor split into two paths. One led to the main docking bay, heavily guarded. The other led to a maintenance shaft, narrow and long, but less monitored. Tom chose the shaft. It would be difficult for a creature as large as Starfire, but it was safer. The dragon hesitated slightly, then lowered its body, wings folding close, and followed. Tom's heart raced as he guided it through the tight space. The chains scraped against the metal walls, but the dragon moved slowly and carefully. It trusted him completely, and that trust gave him courage. After what felt like hours, they emerged near a ventilation area on the outer edge of the outpost. Outside, the cold night wind blew against their faces. Stars stretched endlessly above them, glittering and bright. Tom felt a surge of hope. Freedom was close. But then a faint alarm sounded. A red light blinked in the distance. The Empire had noticed something. Tom did not panic. He took the dragon's massive claw in his hands, guiding it toward the cliff edge overlooking the outer plains. "We need to jump," he whispered. "I will hold you steady." The dragon looked at him, its golden eyes steady. Tom had no second choice. He gripped the chains that were loosened enough to move, and with a deep breath, he pushed Starfire off the edge. The dragon leapt, wings catching the wind. For a moment, Tom thought it would fail, would crash against the rocky ground. But then the wings spread fully, and Starfire rose into the sky, powerful and free. Tom held on tightly as they soared above the cliffs, the outpost shrinking beneath them. The wind roared past their faces. Tom felt the thrill of flight, the danger, and the freedom all at once. Starfire let out a roar, a sound that shook the night sky and echoed across the moon's surface. Tom laughed, unable to contain himself. For the first time in his life, he felt truly alive. But the Empire would not give up so easily. Patrol ships rose from the outpost, their lights scanning the sky. Energy beams cut through the night, aimed at them. Tom clung to Starfire as the dragon twisted and dived, avoiding the beams with skill and power no human could match. They flew across canyons, over jagged cliffs, and finally, Starfire rose above the patrol ships, into a higher altitude where the Empire's weapons could not reach. Tom's heart pounded, but he felt relief. They were not safe yet, but they had escaped the immediate danger. They landed in a hidden valley, surrounded by high rocks and trees that bent gently in the wind. Starfire lowered its massive body to the ground, and Tom slid off, landing with a thud. He looked up at the dragon, still immense even when resting, and felt a sense of awe. "You are safe," he whispered. "For now." The dragon lowered its head, brushing gently against him, almost like a gesture of thanks. Tom reached out and touched the scales, feeling warmth and strength. He had never felt such connection with any creature before. But he knew their journey was far from over. The Empire would not forget this. They would send fleets, soldiers, and hunters to retrieve the dragon. Tom understood the stakes. They had only a small chance to survive and remain free. Yet Tom was ready. Humans had always found ways to overcome impossible odds. He had trusted Starfire, and now Starfire trusted him. Together, they had a bond stronger than chains, stronger than fear. As the first light of dawn touched the valley, Tom looked at the horizon. "We will find a place for you to be free," he said softly. "A place where no one can chain you, where you can fly as you were meant to." The dragon lowered its wings and settled beside him. Its golden eyes watched the horizon, calm but alert. Tom knew that they would face many challenges ahead, but for the first time, he felt hope. They had made the choice together. They had chosen freedom, and that choice would guide them no matter what came next. The valley lay quiet under the soft glow of dawn. Tom and Starfire rested together, the dragon's massive body coiled protectively around him. For the first time since the escape, Tom allowed himself a moment of relief. They had survived the flight from the outpost, outsmarted the patrols, and reached a hidden place where the Empire could not immediately find them. But Tom knew this peace was temporary. The Empire would send fleets, soldiers, and hunters. Starfire was too powerful and too rare for them to ignore. They would pursue them across moons and planets if they had to. Tom understood that freedom would require courage, strategy, and patience. He stood and stretched, feeling the cool air on his face. "We need a plan," he said softly. Starfire's golden eyes met his, calm yet intense. It seemed to understand him perfectly, as if agreeing that the next steps were critical. Tom examined the chains that still clung to Starfire's limbs and wings. Though loosened, they remained dangerous. The energy fields burned slightly against the dragon's scales. He would need more than skill to fully break them. He would need tools, and perhaps an opportunity when the Empire least expected it. They spent the morning exploring the valley. It was a natural fortress, surrounded by high rocks and forests that offered cover from aerial searches. Tom studied the terrain carefully. "This could be our base," he said quietly. "We can hide, recover, and think of the next move." Starfire lowered its head, brushing against him as if acknowledging the suggestion. For days, they remained in the valley. Tom scavenged supplies from old wrecks nearby, using his engineering skills to repair broken machinery and create basic shelters. Starfire rested, stretching its wings in secret, careful not to attract attention from passing patrols. Each night, they shared the silence together, a human and a dragon, bound by trust and hope. Tom began working on a device to fully release Starfire from the chains. He used energy modulators, circuit boards, and tools salvaged from the outpost. Each piece was delicate, requiring precise adjustments. He spent long hours examining the energy fields around the cuffs, trying to find a way to disrupt them without triggering alarms or damaging Starfire. "Almost there," he whispered one night as he adjusted a panel. Starfire's golden eyes watched him, patient and steady. Tom smiled faintly. "We are so close, my friend. Soon, no chains will hold you." But the Empire was not idle. Scouts passed overhead, and faint communications carried across the valley. Tom and Starfire remained hidden, relying on the dragon's keen senses to warn them. The tension never left them, but their bond grew stronger each day. One night, a powerful storm rolled across the valley. Rain pelted the rocks, thunder shook the ground, and lightning split the sky. Tom realized the storm could be their chance. The patrols would be grounded, sensors disrupted, and no one would notice their actions in the chaos. "This is it," Tom said, speaking softly to Starfire. The dragon lowered its head as if it understood completely. They moved to the spot where Tom had built the energy disruption device. Carefully, he attached the modulators to the glowing cuffs. Sparks flew as the device hummed to life, its lights reflecting on Starfire's scales. The dragon's body tensed, and Tom felt the power flowing through the chains. He adjusted the device with trembling hands, making precise calibrations. The storm roared outside, lightning striking close enough to illuminate the valley in blinding flashes. Tom did not falter. He could feel the connection between him and Starfire, the silent trust that made this moment possible. Suddenly, the chains shuddered and glowed brighter. Tom held his breath. Energy sparks shot out, lighting the night. Starfire lifted its massive head, eyes blazing with intensity. The bonds that had held it for so long began to weaken. Almost there, Tom whispered, sweat and rain dripping down his face. He pressed the final sequence on the device, and the energy field around the chains flickered violently. The cuff snapped open, falling to the wet ground with a heavy clatter. Starfire roared, a sound so powerful that it shook the rocks and echoed through the valley. The storm seemed to answer the roar, thunder rumbling in harmony. Starfire spread its wings fully for the first time in years. The wings were large, golden, and strong, catching the wind and rising above the valley floor. Tom watched in awe as the dragon lifted off, circling the sky in wide, powerful arcs. Freedom had never looked so magnificent. Tom climbed onto a nearby rock, watching Starfire soar. "You're free," he whispered, tears mixing with the rain. "Finally, you're free." The dragon swooped down, gliding close to Tom. It lowered its massive head, and for a brief moment, Tom felt as if it bowed to him in gratitude. They had fought together, risked everything, and now, the impossible had become reality. But the storm was not over. Lightning struck near the valley, and the wind carried distant shouts from Empire scouts. Tom knew this was only the beginning. Freedom was not guaranteed. The Empire would not stop hunting Starfire, and now they would certainly see Tom as the one responsible for the escape. He felt a surge of determination. Humans had always faced impossible odds, and somehow, they had always found a way. Tom had no illusions about the challenges ahead, but he would not abandon Starfire. Together, they could survive, and perhaps, even thrive. As dawn broke, the storm passed, leaving the valley bathed in soft morning light. Starfire landed near Tom, wings folding gracefully. The chains were gone, leaving only scars and memories. Tom ran his hand over the dragon's scales, feeling warmth, strength, and life. "We have a long journey ahead," he said softly. "The Empire will not stop, but neither will we. You are free, and I will make sure of it." Starfire nudged him gently, a sign of understanding. For the first time, Tom looked beyond the valley. He imagined distant worlds, hidden refuges, and skies where Starfire could fly without fear. They would leave this moon behind, travel across the galaxy, and find a place where no one could ever chain the dragon again. Weeks passed as they prepared. Tom scavenged and repaired a small ship, modifying it to carry supplies and equipment for long journeys. Starfire helped in its own way, moving heavy materials and keeping watch. Their bond was now unbreakable, built on trust, courage, and shared struggle. Finally, the day came. Tom and Starfire stood at the edge of the valley. The ship's engines hummed softly, ready for launch. Starfire's wings were spread, catching the wind, shimmering in the morning sun. Tom looked at the dragon, and then at the stars above. "Are you ready?" he asked. Starfire blinked, golden eyes steady, and let out a soft roar. That was answer enough. Together, they moved forward. Starfire lifted Tom onto its back carefully, and with a powerful leap, they soared into the sky. The ship followed, powered and ready, carrying supplies for the journey ahead. The valley shrank below them, and the freedom of space stretched before them. As they flew past the clouds, Tom felt a rush of exhilaration. He had trusted a creature no one else believed existed. He had risked everything for freedom, and now, they were flying together into the unknown. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers and wonders alike. But for Tom and Starfire, it was no longer a place of fear. It was a place of possibility. They had broken the chains, not only of metal and energy but of fear and control. Tom rested on the dragon's back, looking at the stars. "We did it, Starfire," he whispered. "We are free, and nothing can take that away from us." Starfire let out a final roar, a sound of triumph and joy. It echoed across the galaxy, a declaration of life, courage, and hope. And so, Tom the engineer and Starfire the dragon began their journey, no longer prisoners, no longer bound by fear. The stars were theirs, the sky was theirs, and together, they would face whatever the universe had in store.